So will anybody answer the question in the comments below? Who is the first person to coin the phrase Epstein's client list? Join me right now for 5 minutes with OK Julie. Julie coming to you from home in North Carolina on this July 11th, 2025, settled back after my Baton Rouge road trip. Today's 5 minutes with OK Julie is stretching a little longer today. I'm going to try and talk about this Jeffrey Epstein case. Something's going on here, and I'm digging into whether the government's really trying to help victims who were extorted and abused, or if there's a darker truth they're hiding. I've got a theory. What if Epstein was blackmailing powerful folks, maybe even for Israel's benefit to push their interests? But Israel, like many here, might not have known the full scope of his evil until it was too late. I'm wrestling with this. Let's start with what we know. Jeffrey Epstein, a financier with a dark side, ran a sex trafficking ring for decades. He really did. Abusing and exploiting hundreds, maybe over 1,000 girls and women, per the DOJ's 2025 memo. He hobnobbed with the elite, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, even Donald Trump years back, though Trump cut ties 18 years before Epstein's death. Epstein died in 2019, ruled a suicide by the DOJ, but the case keeps burning. In 2025, the FBI and DOJ reviewed 300 gigabytes of his files, documents, images, videos, and released 200 pages in February under Attorney General Pam Bondi, promising transparency. But here's where the weirdness begins to come out. They say there's no client list or hard evidence of blackmail, and they're holding back more files to protect victims' privacy. That's got my MAGA heart wondering, are they shielding survivors or something else? One thing I haven't heard yet is, where did the term client list even come from to begin with? Or was that just somebody talking on the internet? Or did that come from a legal place based on evidence? If we could answer that question, maybe it would calm some people down a little bit. But let's talk about the victims. Folks like Maria Farmer, who says she was assaulted by Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in 1996 and threatened to stay quiet. Her 2025 lawsuit against the FBI claims they ignored her report, letting Epstein's abuse and extortion continue for years. Another suit in 2024 by 12 Jane Does says the FBI sat on tips from 1996 to 2006, enabling Epstein's trafficking. These women face not just abuse, but threats of bodily harm, classic extortion to keep them silent, per Farmer's court filings. The government's stepping up now, or so it seems. Bondi's team redacted victim names in those 200 pages to protect them, and the DOJ's vowed to fight child exploitation. Plus, Epstein's estate paid out $121 million to about 150 victims by 2021. And banks like JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank shelled out $290 million and $75 million in 2023 to settle with survivors. That's real money for real pain, and it shows the government's at least backing some justice for those extorted and hurt. But is it enough? I'm not sure. Psalm 82:3 says, "Defend the weak and the fatherless, uphold the cause of the poor and oppressed." These victims, girls as young as 14, threatened into silence, deserve that defense. The DOJ's actions, like protecting identities and pushing settlements, look like they're trying to right past wrongs. An ex post praises Bondi for putting victims first, and I want to believe that's true. But then there's the other side. Why no new prosecutions? Over 1,000 victims identified, yet no big names charged, per the DOJ's July 7 memorandum. Some on Twitter are calling foul, saying it's bureaucratic cover-up, not victim protection. And Bondi's flip-flop, she hinted at a client list on her desk but now says it doesn't exist, has folks, including me, raising eyebrows. Now, here's where my theory comes in, and it's a wild one, so bear with me. What if Epstein wasn't just a predator but a blackmailer working for bigger players, maybe even Israel, to push their interests? Hear me out. This ain't about bashing Israel, a nation many of us MAGA folks stand with. It's about one man's schemes. Some say Epstein was tied to Israel's Mossad, running a honey trap to extort powerful figures, politicians, CEOs, even royalty, to get favors like military aid or diplomatic support. A 2020 Middle East Monitor piece quotes former Mossad agent Ari Ben-Menashe claiming Epstein and Maxwell ran this operation for Israel. X posts back this, pointing to names like former Israeli PM Ehud Barak in Epstein's files. A 2021 Times of Israel report ties Epstein to Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine's dad, a rumored Mossad asset. The idea: Israel wanted results, maybe influence in Washington, but didn't know or condone Epstein's full depravity until it spiraled out of control, just like many Americans didn't see his evil until it was too late. Epstein was smart, y'all. Scary smart. He built a network that snared the powerful, and his files list names like Clinton, Barack, even Trump from years back, though no proof they did wrong. My theory is the government knows being on that list doesn't mean guilt. Maybe they just visited his island or plane, but the public doesn't see it that way. Being named is defamatory enough to spark lawsuits. Look at Virginia Giuffre. She sued Maxwell for defamation in 2015, settling for millions, and Prince Andrew paid $12 million to avoid a trial. Alan Dershowitz fought Netflix over false claims in a documentary, saying his reputation took a hit just for being linked. Judge Loretta Preska, unsealing names in 2024, said many weren't guilty, just associates, yet the stigma sticks. The DOJ's holding back files, saying it's to protect victims, but could it be to shield these names from unfair lawsuits or public crucifixion? I mean, what's really fair in a case like this? We already know who definitely got treated unfairly. Now, do we justify treating others unfairly because of that? This ties to what we've been talking about. On July 8th, I said smarts don't equal wisdom. Epstein had brains but no heart, using his intelligence to exploit, maybe for foreign powers. On July 9th, we talked Musk's America Party, and he's out here accusing Trump of being in Epstein's files, stirring the pot. Is the government helping victims like those extorted girls or protecting elites who got caught in Epstein's web? Proverbs 21:15 says, "When justice is done, it brings joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers." If the DOJ's redactions are about saving victims from more pain, I'm all for it. But if they're hiding a bigger truth, like Epstein's schemes for Israel or others, that's not justice. It's a cover-up, and my MAGA heart wants the truth, no matter who's named. What's the takeaway? We need to seek justice, but also wisdom. The government's doing something, settlements, file releases, but the lack of charges and murky list talk makes me wonder. Was Epstein a lone monster or a pawn for bigger players like Israel who didn't see his evil until it was too big to stop? We may never know, but we can pray for those girls like Maria Farmer who faced his threats. We can demand transparency like Trump promised in 2024, and we can hold fast to God's truth, not human schemes. This isn't about picking fights, it's about finding answers. Okay, I'm done from here. I'm okay, Julie, speaking truth from home sweet home in North Carolina, chasing God's justice over man's cover-ups. Stay faithful, fight for America, and let's keep it strong. Okay, Julie, out.